Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Christ consciousness. Well, I want to talk about the most important aspect of life, which is manifesting. Now, manifesting is all about, and life is all about, surrounding yourself and drawing to you positive energy. Life and everything else in it really comes down to, and it goes everywhere in the universe, into energies. And you want to bring in the positive energies and get rid of the bad energies. It's just about as simple as that, but that's how life works. And the universe is connected to this kind of understanding as well. And let's fully understand, this is subtle energy physics. This is a science of energies that can be documented, measured, manipulated, etc. This isn't some hokey-pokey nonsense. This isn't some mythical belief system. What is a mythical belief system is what common, backward, do nothing, achieve nothing science has done. Your theoretical physicists, your physicists in general, have absolutely no idea of what's really happening out there. They have theories that they like to cash their big checks with and build institutions on. So we must understand that science, and I'll clarify that in a second, is bogus. It hasn't done anything. 150 years, there has been no breakthrough in physicists from physicists. So we need to understand that. So now we have to understand there's different sciences, but we have to be careful with science because science, with quotation marks, is quite interesting. Medical science? Okay, well, that's very physical, isn't it? And of course, there's nothing different between the energetic and the physical. It's just that something is kind of a slap in the face, and the other one may be a breeze on you. But it's in its nature. It is physical. Energetic informational fields create everything. So to think that they don't exist is just it's almost kindergarten stupid talk. Because they want to verify something which they can't verify. Because there's nothing that regular physicists do that is verifiable. They make up names like stick-ons and gluons and Barney Smith particles. I mean, it's just really a comical troupe of people that, they really should put these people on a comedy show. I think that Saturday Night Live could use some new influx of silliness, and we can really get some physicists there to do that. Now, but we have to be careful in terms of understanding what science is. So, science, it does not. A lot of people confuse science with engineering. Engineering is quite a bit different. Well, people may say it's based on science, but it's really based on practical science. If you build a bridge, you've got to know all sorts of practical engineering. How much weight can this take? What kind of materials do you use? And this is based on, quote, science. Well, we have to be careful what all these words mean. So you don't build a bridge right, you know right away, because it falls down. And if it falls down 5-10 years later, well, you've just killed a lot of people and your science is horrible and faulty. Well, this doesn't happen that much. So when we build physical buildings, skyscrapers, etc., they've been there for, how old is the Empire State Building? Well, it's been there maybe over 100 years now. So the whole idea is that we understand that this is not really science, it is engineering, and you have to make it work. You can't theorize. I theorize it. Yeah, I theorize this building is going to stand up. We're just going to have to find out. Let's get it full of people, and then we'll theorize whether it stands. Now, this is engineering, and we need to understand that from the very beginning. So, everything else which you call science, unless it's making a physical product. Well, you want to make plastic. Well, that's kind of engineering. So the whole idea is you either make plastic or you don't. You just don't kind of get it. Well, it's kind of work. It can hold like 4 ounces of weight on it. Kind of work. Well, this is not. You make plastic, you make plastic. You put it in a mold, you do it. That mold the plastic has to be melted and then formed, and this is all down to a, quote, engineering level, which I like. It's engineered. We know we need this amount of temperature to melt plastic, and then we form it, then we cool it, then we put it in a metal. This is all stuff that we know works. Because if it doesn't work, you get a bink of glue. It's a glob. Well, that was just supposed to be a waste bin. It's only a glob. So you can't do that, but that's what your theoretical scientists do. And when it comes back to anything that is anyway, because they refuse to study what is considered the less physical and even the non-physical, meaning energetic informational fields, all the fields that deal with non-physical are complete and total failures. Let's talk about medical science, which I just mentioned. Well, we really haven't achieved anything there. And, we can talk about a lot of things. We can talk about all the cures. We can talk about the free energy we have, which is totally ignored. Scientists sit there trying to invent new ways to use petroleum products when right next to them is the solution to it that's been around for 150 years, known as hydrogen. Well, it's not used. Hey, we're scientists. We got to make stuff that don't work. So the whole idea is that that's what they do all day. They go into their offices. And so the problem is, if we want to get into all the side issues, the corruption, etc., well, we'll be here all day, and it'll never end. And, of course, that falls on the scientists' laps again, because they give technology, murderous, horrible technologies, brain-controlled technologies, destruction technologies, to all these corrupt people. So, the scientists are the people that should be held up in the future. If there's going to be trials, they should be, why did you cooperate? We've done this throughout the years with war crimes and other things. And the point is, why did you cooperate? What are you doing that for? Well, we all know what the bigger story there is. But if we get into that, we'll be here all day. I've talked about that endlessly. And, of course, there's easy solutions to it all. But why do you want a solution? Why does the medical industry want to heal people when there's more money in disease? Well, if you heal somebody, almost no matter what the cost is, it's still going to be less than treating somebody for 20 or 30 years. So if we start thinking that way, we have a problem, because that goes into other things. So let's get back to the hard, cruel facts of it all. Science doesn't know nothing. They can't produce nothing. So because of the fact they are totally off. So that's what regular common science does. There's so many things that can be done, they don't do it. So it's not engineering, so let's understand that. Radionics, subtle energy physics, is a engineering reality. It's a process you do that gets you results, plain and simple. Unfortunately, unlike building a building, you don't have a physical structure, which means that the testing, the success of it, because of what it is, because not everything in life is a rock, the reality is that you have failures because of the nature of it, because it's kind of it's a bio process, meaning it's working in a fluctuating system, a bioenergy system. And these bioenergy systems, while do have some physical components, they are very variable. Just like medical science is very variable because of the fact sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Why? You're using the same medication, you're giving it virtually to the same biostructure, a human, and why doesn't it work the same with everybody? Well, it works greatly different with everybody. If you look at medications that are tested, there's a whole list of side effects that happen. So, out of this 100,000 people or whatever it is they test, a certain percentage of them will actually probably die. Other ones will, their eyes will fall out. They'll poop green. So the whole idea is this is all part of the process that we need to understand, that when you get into the non-physical manifestation and where you have energy fields that come involved with it, which is what medical science is all about, you're using physical chemicals to produce energy fields, that you get a great variance. So let's get that cleared here in terms of, when people look at a lot of these other, there certainly is, and if we spent the time and money researching these non-physical or energetic fields, we would have meters to test everything. And then we would have leaps and bounds ahead. Everything would be solved. But why do that? We live in an open-air insane asylum where you go to a guy who's starving. Here you go, you're starving, you haven't had water for 3 days. Here's water, here's food. And what they do is they take their hands and they bang it out of your hand. They just hit it. I don't want that food. I don't want that water. I want special food. That isn't even real food. What? Well, if you don't eat this, you're going to die. I don't want that. It's not real food. Get it out of here. That's exactly what you have from this entire open-air insane asylum that we all live in. And the people doing that are not your uneducated, ignorant street people, if there is such a thing. But it's the so-called academia. dummademia, as I call them. It's these people who are doing that. They're refusing to go with proven things that work because of a myriad of problems. And then they like to justify it, not the fact that the system is corrupt, as the fact that it doesn't make any sense. Or science tells us. What science? You don't have any science that works. It doesn't do anything. So the whole idea, until science becomes engineering, it is valueless. And as I said, anytime there's variables, when we get into energetic situations of any type, including bioenergetic, meaning medicine, the so-called scientific value of it, where you may think as a common person out there, works, it doesn't work. It only works for a certain person, then it works in a particular way because they're not understanding how energetic informational fields work. So let's get to that right away. So there is a whole science to this. It's proven. As I said, my books and courses will be coming out soon. These are momentous things to do that take a huge amount of time, and we're working on this while struggling just to do your regular things that we offer. But that's what our technology is all about. Our technology is about bringing in energetic informational fields of a particular type that you interact with, your personal psions. Now, these informational energetic fields are called photons. They intermix with your psions. You produce psions, your energy field, and that's what you are. You're a channel. You don't produce much of anything. Now, we all know this if you want to get into regular type low-level science, that when you really put anything on somebody, that there's no electromagnetic reality to this. You're putting out while you are a chemical battery. Your chemical battery, because of the nature of it, it's a biochemical battery. And you don't need to have 50,000 watts to run your body, nor would this even be good. And that's the other fallacy. More is better. Well, yeah, I guess if you're running a generator and you have to plug everything into it, yeah, more is better. But when you're running, if you put too much energy into an appliance, appliances are rated around the world, usually 120, 240. Well, if you put 240 into a 120 appliance, guess what happens? You burn it out. You got well, hey, what are you talking about? There's a lot more energy there, so it should be able to use it better. Shouldn't that toaster give you toast in half the time? It's got double the energy. Well, it doesn't. It's not set for that. So the whole idea is they're set up at different voltages. And it seems to me, why would you use high voltage when you can use lower voltage? But the bottom line is that it isn't better. So it's what your system can equip. And bioenergy systems need informational energetic fields. They don't need strong electrical Hertzian energies. And if you do use those, which is an interesting field unto itself, you have to make sure you use the right ones and you're using the perfect level of energy or quote voltage there. So more voltage. I had one person saying, "Oh, this is stronger than the other unit," and so it's used. Why? Why is using higher amounts of energy better? That's an imbecilic way of thinking. You need the right amount of anything. So this is how the world is. You use the right amount of something, and then it works. You use too little, it don't work. Use too much, it burns it out. You can look at that for regular Hertzian energy fields. So as I mentioned, if you plug in a toaster and you need 120 volts, and you only have 100 volts, guess what? It don't work. Use 240 volts, meaning you take a basic U.S.-made electrical appliance and you put it with actual high voltage from Europe and other places. Well, it's way too much energy. It's going to burn the whole thing out. I mean, that whole thing will be turned to a crisp and it'll become dangerous. And again, as I said, well, it's more. Why didn't it work? Well, no, it's just right what you need. So it's the reality of the universe and everything else. And kind of the entire universe is that way. Earth is in the Goldilocks zone. It's in the very rare zone where life can exist on as we understand it today. This is very hard to find, where it's not too cold, not too hot, all these type of things. There are plenty of planets out there, but 99.9% of them are uninhabitable. It's too cold, it's too hot, whatever it is involved there. So the Goldilocks zone is quite fascinating. So as we get in connection with all this, you got to understand that this is a science, and what you want. So don't let anybody tell you anything different. As I said, my books will clarify this, but of course, the pseudo intellectuals, those people who went to schools that like to call themselves tech institutes, you have to be very careful of. So the whole idea is that there's so many things going on, but the whole idea is that we're talking about an energetic universe where there are certain informational energetic fields. Now, these fields are for health, healing, success, prosperity, higher states of consciousness. You name it, it's in there. And that's what's so interesting about these energetic fields is that there's one for everything. So whatever your need is, it's there. Well, yeah, but how do you get that? How do you connect to that field? How do you bring it to you? And what does that field do? Well, that field then creates a particular energetic vibration. So it starts vibrating you. And let's say for success here, to just kind of stay neutral, this could be for health or wealth, whatever it is. But you now are connected to the energy that will manifest in this reality, in this life, the kind of energy field you want. So you're looking for success. Well, you have to make sure that you have eliminated, because there are anti-success or unsuccessful energy fields as well. A lot of people talk about this. If you have bad luck, if things don't manifest for you. And we go through stages of this ourselves where, nothing works out right. Well, that's because you are now, what has connected with you and your bioenergy has been the unlucky field, negative success energy. There's positive success energies and there's negative success energies, which is very interesting. And this is why it's so important to control the energies around you. There's positive health energies and negative health energies. And these energies create, in the best way to describe them, is a magnetic type field. What they do is attract what's there. So if you've got bad luck, and this is why people go through this, and as I said, I think we all do that, where one bad thing happens after another. Why? Because you have attracted that, and you're actually holding that in your aura, in your bioenergy fields. I hate to use those New Age terms because that makes people sound like this is not really a science, which, of course, science can make up gluons and stick-on and Barney Rubble-ons, but the whole idea is that anybody else because they don't name anything based on anything other than their ego, or they'll name it the Hubble telescope. From what I understand, the telescope was not invented by Hubble. So, wasn't it some Italian guy? Was it the Galileo, or whoever it was who invented the first kind of telescope? It wasn't Hubby. So Hubby and his bogus, boring boob that he was, now that's what science does. So, the reason I state these things and go off track a little bit is because you got to understand how bogus science is and what kind of egotistical maniacs they are. They're not looking for science. They're looking for Mr. Clark's science, so that can be named after them, or they could write a paper on it. So they're not looking for truth. They're looking for ego boosting. So we need to understand all that. So the whole idea is these fields sit around you, and we could call them magnetic in nature. Well, it's not really in the electromagnetic spectrum. It's in an energy spectrum, but energies seek out similar energy. So if you have success energies around you, guess what? Success energies will be attracted to you. So it's an attraction situation, which I think people can visualize or understand better as kind of a magnetic field. These magnetic fields, and even in magnets, there's plus and negative. So the whole idea is you can have a good magnetic field or a bad magnetic field, or plus or minus, north and south, which aren't really negative in uses, but they are completely different. If you try and put a North Pole magnet against a South Pole magnet, you can't do it. It's impossible. Which is fascinating to think about itself. That energy coming off of that magnet pushes that other magnet away. Now, we've done this to a point where we can pick up tens of thousands of pound trains, not even pounds, tons, hundreds and thousands of tons of trains. We levitate them off tracks and then move them. just because we've levitated them. And we've all seen this kind of effect throughout our life. It's fun. They've made toys with it. It's very interesting. But basically, that's what you're doing. If you have a negative field, you're in your aura, you're repulsing the positive field, which means nothing can happen to you. This is where the process of being crossed comes in. So when you're crossed, you have all these negative energies. Now, crossed is a term that has been used in many ways. It goes back to old alchemicalists. But if you're walking down the street and you cross your legs, what happens? And sometimes this happens occasionally to people. Well, you fall over. Simple as that. You can't move. You're blocked. So you're crossed. Or you go to an intersection in roads. Well, it means you have to pick a way to go. So you're crossed. It's not the straight road anyway. So what you've got to do, you have to alleviate the actual blockages in your life by getting rid of the negative energy fields that have built up in your particular biosystem. Now, this comes from multi-sources. It can come from outsiders who do it deliberately. It comes mostly from your entire life. But your life is an intermixing of your family, your teachers, everything else that you run into are feeding you energy, and you are getting to a particular level of energy. So it's not just dependent upon you, but if you run into a lot of problems in life, all these energies build up, and what happens? You turn into this magnetism for negativity. And this happens to everybody to some degree. Most people have very high negative cross conditions because that's how life is. And we don't kind of clean it out. We try and do successful things to bring in positive energies, and this works, but the magnet is pushing the positive energies back out again. So you're in this flux. One of the major ways is to get an energy sample, bring it into your biofield that is positive and is designed for, quote, uncrossing. That's what your uncrossing amulet or energy cell is all about. So we have designed this and with your personal energy field number on it called the cosmic code, and all these positive energies to uncross you, to open up the blockages in life, are in an energy tool like that. That's why tools are so needed. Now, trying to do all this strictly from a mental point of view, and this is where people get also distracted. First of all, we need things to work with. Life is complicated. You can't stay in, when you talk about all these people, I'm not sure how successful or what they are, but we talk about all these people that are so-called advanced. People like to think that Tibetan monks and everything else. Well, what do they do all day? They meditate and stay in a psychic state for 6 or 8 hours. Well, that's because they start their day off with begging. They go and beg and get money and food and everything else. And of course, that's what all these people do internationally. That's what the Dalai Lama does. He goes around the world saying, please give me money so we can meditate all day. So the whole idea is that's the reality that we get. Now, we can't do that in Western society. And frankly, I don't really think that's a good lifestyle. You're kind of out of the lifestyle that way. So what you've done is disconnected from common society and isolated yourself into a monkish lifestyle. Well, I don't think that's something that is good long term, and I think it's kind of a cop-out. I mean, should life be terrible if you live in a monastery? Well, probably it is because of all sorts of problems with sexuality and money and everything else. But let's say it's a perfect existence, but it's not a perfect existence. It's supposed to be a perfect existence while you're living in regular society, while you're raising children, while you own a house, while you have to do some sort of positive task in life, which hopefully would be your job. So that's not. It's a fake world. You're living in a fake world, and I'm not sure that the monkish world teaches anybody anything. What have we got from that? Are there great healers there? I mean, there's some healing coming from there, but only 2% of Tibetan medicine has ever made it into English or is taught anywhere in the world. And from what I know of Tibetan monasteries that are full of sick people, because they're not cleanly. They didn't wash their hands. They all had problems intestinally. And they all prayed to the medicine Buddha. And the medicine Buddha did like most gods do. Can't hear you. You're not speaking loud enough to me. So the whole idea didn't work. So Australian doctors came in there with antibiotics and cured the monks. Om. So this is where we get with so many things. It's so amusing when you see this stuff. So the whole idea is that there is only one path, a path of Christ consciousness, gnosis, which lets you know things like I know. How foolish that is. So this is how all of it works. So it is a difficult path, and rightfully so. If everything was easy, it has no value. Anything that's easy, has no value. If I got 50 bars of gold and piled it in your house and you bought everything out, well, the gold don't have any value anymore. You'd probably use it as coasters. So the whole idea is that this is how the entire process works, and as such, you have to understand that. So when you want anything, you have to clear out the negative. That's what uncrossing is. We have several tools for this. Then you bring in, because uncrossing will leave you neutral. You'll get rid of the negative magnetism. But where does that leave you? It leaves you neutral. There's no magnets at all pulling in. Well, that's not going to help your life. So what's going to flow to you after that is so critical. So once you're uncrossed, once you have brought in the positive energy, and you need to do this for a lifetime, by the way, because you're going to go through stages of life where you get sick, you have relationship problems, you have monetary problems. Well, you got to uncross yourself. No matter what you're having a problem with, it's uncrossing it. So, just got someone contacted me about school problems where they want to have better school. Well, you're crossed up with negativity there. You have a magnetic field to bring in this particular case, it was memory. People want better memories. So you uncross yourself from the memory problems. And this is intrinsic. You believe this 100% that you have this problem. Your toxic mind tells you that, so it's reaffirming it. How do you change that? You get an uncrossing energy cell, and you uncross yourself from a bad memory. You uncross yourself from any problem you have, bad relationships. We're all crossed up, and what happens is that energy comes into your life and starts creating that with everybody. If you got bad relationship, most likely you're going to go into another bad relationship. Why? Because you're a magnet for that. Uncross it, neutralize it. Now, once you've neutralized it, you have to bring in the positive energy. And this is one of the things people miss. Oh, I'm uncrossed, nothing's happened. Of course nothing's happened. You removed the blockages, but you are still sitting in the same chair. Those blockages which didn't allow you to get out of that chair and move forward are gone. But you're still sitting in the chair. You have to bring those to you. So you have to bring success energies to you. You have to bring well-being energies to you. You have to bring whatever it may be, wealth energies to you. So this is how it works. And that's it. So how do you do this and how you do this consistently? Well, it really comes down to the, I don't know if it's necessarily, but it's really a new reality that we've come up to finally after years of messing with inferior technologies and dancing around everything in terms of, yeah, we kind of got it. Well, this comes down to the new technology of subtle energy physics, and that is you create the energy fields you want. You dissipate negative energy fields, and people get too caught up on manifesting. I need money, bring cash. Me put in machine to do this. Well, yeah, that's right. But you want to make sure you negate, you remove the bad energy first, because where's the good energy going to come? Well, I've seen this happen. People bring in a lot of positive energy. They make a lot of money, and then they have some problems with it. They lose it because the negative energy is taking out the positive energy. So this is a very profound and important lecture here that I hope everybody listens to many, many times. So you can't do this psychically. And I jumped away from the monkeys. So the whole idea, the monks can sit there all day and manifest something. And I'm not sure what that manifests. That manifests a spiritual state, and then they go in the morning and beg for some more money. Is that what the Spirit told them to do? I'm not sure that that's a viable system of doing things. It certainly pushes the emphasis away from you having to do day-to-day chores to make money, which of course keeps you centered on the higher goal. But is that higher goal of any value? Well, what are you doing there? So the whole idea is that you have to be working within a societal structure and doing something of value to participate in your own life and not just spiritually getting up to high levels. What does that do? What if you're the most powerful person that can levitate and manifest what you want, point your finger at somebody and bounce them off the ceiling? Well, what does that do if you're in a monastery? You're not even with society. Are you doing good? Well, it's kind of an ego thing. Well, look at how powerful I am. Who cares what you can do that way? How does that affect society? And it really doesn't even affect you unless you're using that to make money with. So the whole idea is that that's the society we live in. And we need to be able to master society. That's the challenge, not to master being a monk. I don't quite understand that. You're set up in a complete system to be successful. Does that have value? Well, in my mind, it doesn't, because you're living in a fake world. It's like people who are sports stars and stuff. I mean, that they're living as kids their entire life. They play baseball. They go from baseball as kids to junior high to high school, and then you go into the minor leagues, or you go into a professional team. These are all the things that are done. Well, you're living a fake world. What do you do all day? Oh, time to be a kid again. Let's go hit some balls. So the whole idea is no matter what sport, so that you're stuck in that kind of reality. Well, that's not the real world. So we all need to understand the fact that that is the reality is out there. So you're there to be mixed into society to do something. If you're not doing something, it has no value. I'm not really sure what monks do. Maybe they're good examples, maybe whatever. I always used to get a kick of watching them run through the Bodhi Tree bookstore in Los Angeles in their little robes, which I always found they're trying to figure out how much something costs for the exchange rate. Or you can watch the Thai monks who are drunk, smoking cigarettes, and hanging out with the prostitutes. Now that's a monkey life to me. I think something I can get into. But the whole idea is that we need to understand this is the reality. So you intermixing with society, test your own personal capacities to expand beyond yourself and hopefully make an effect. The world will only change when individuals change, and these individuals affect others. You support other positive people. You buy positive products. You buy clean products, organic products. At least you're trying. You support people who are doing good work. I don't know if you could find a politician that does that, but at least maybe you try. But the bottom line is there are some good organizations. I'm wondering how that is, because we're stuck in this other spiritual understanding as well, is that we live in prison camp Earth. This is a hell zone. So, you can't even give money to charitable organizations and expect them to use it properly, like the Red Demon Cross, who gives millions of dollars to their executives. So the whole idea is that you can't even do that, but that's part of the game now. Things are getting worse and worse, but you try and educate yourself and get knowledge. What is good? What is bad? And you have to be exposed to that. I remember I knew nothing until I kind of reached college level and was exposed to a little bit of alternative thinking by what was coming on them, organic and better foods, which was something I was exposed to from friends and relatives who educated themselves, somehow got into it because somebody told them, and was passed on to me. And I said, wait, that makes sense. Well, why do you want to eat chemicals? Sugar's no good for you. This chemical here, bachaguki, it tastes great. The only problem is you go bald and you shrink 10 feet. So the whole idea is that this is the kind of things that you have to expose yourself. And by uncrossing yourself in general and getting negativity away from you, what happens is the fact that all good information, you get it about diet, you get it about the climate, you get it about other people, and when you get it to the highest level possible and you understand the functioning of the world, this means that you have reached a state of gnosis, Christ consciousness, the Buddha head, whatever it is. But this is more than just, you're figuring out the reality you live in. You know what truth is. You know what lies are. This is how it works. It's not a direct state of empowerment. It's a state of knowledge. Now, what you do with that is the key. And again, if you're balanced and uncrossed, you'll know what to do. But, there's an illusion to think that, once you reach a high state of consciousness, that this is a empowerment. You have some sort of comic book abilities. I think this whole world is ruined by comic book realities. I read them as a child and loved comic books as for what they are, but people actually think that may be possible. There's even the science of comic books. The bottom line is it's not possible. It doesn't work like that. And I'm not sure what high level abilities do for you. If you can levitate or knock somebody down with a psychic beam, well, what does that really do for you? How many people do you need to knock down? In life, you try and not knock people down. Don't get into battle. Stay away from it. So the whole idea is that why would you need that skill? What the skills you need is to understand when you make a judgment and you need help. You get the right person, you get the right doctor, you get the right attorney, whatever that may be. But you shouldn't be needing any of that. But whatever it is you're seeking, you find. That's what Gnosis is all about. It comes to you. It's what you need, and you keep making the correct decision one after the other. When you do this, your life becomes perfect. Simple as that. You make all the right health choices. You make all the right, quote, career choices. All the things that you need to do right that affects your life very directly, you do. You meet the right people that help you. I've never seen a single successful person that wasn't helped by hundreds of others. They move them, they get them interviews, they help them get into training or whatever it may be. That's how things work. Or in the most nepotistic way, you get a job because your family has connections in that business. So you get hired in there, and that's how most industries work. You can't get into any good industry generally, unless you have an in there. The motion picture industry, down at the docks where people are making $100,000. Well, you don't get a $100,000 job because of the fact that you're good at what you do. You get that because there's some nepotism involved. Somebody got you that job. So the world is like that, and this makes the energetic factor even more important. Do you attract the right people? Do you get the right breaks? This is what makes your life. I hear this all the time from people, and it's just the fact of meeting somebody that changes your life entirely. Now, this happened to me as well with the Street Wizard. Well, I had basic interest. He expanded my reality to the largest degree out there, and probably would have never went down the roads that I did without meeting him. So my entire life, and you listening to this, is based on me meeting this person who I expanded into these fields. Your life is probably the same. Now, you get into law or medicine because you knew somebody. Maybe you grew up. I had an attorney I talked to one time. Well, he said, I grew up with lawyers. All my family were lawyers. Well, what are you going to do when you get old, when everybody's into that? Well, you're probably going to become a lawyer. That's exactly what happened. How did that happen? Well, that's because he energetically was placed in there. And of course, he was supported with that. And this is why life is so rough. We don't have a support system where people bring you in and teach you certain things. Now, what I teach is neutral. You have to draw in what you want. But the only way you're going to do that is by getting rid of the negative. So hopefully this is clear. I'm trying to keep these a little more succinct here. Any questions people may have, you have to use devices. We have a new device coming out, the Scion Generator. You have all these energy cells. They are irreplaceable. You can't sit there and meditate all day, and I'm not sure what that does for you. What happened in the Kung Fu monasteries is that the Indian who invented that went up to China and found out all the monks were just lazy bums just meditating. They were so weak they couldn't do anything. So he taught them movements and other things because they were meditating too much. Isn't that kind of ironic? And they were becoming victims of society because people would attack and murder them. So it's very, very interesting how you So you need tools in life. You can't do any of this stuff. Meditation's not going to do it. Visualization's not going to, especially all the ways you've been trained. The terrible courses out there on meditation, visualization, etc. We have all the positive courses that work, that have been tested for over 40 years. The centering, the psychic gym, the visualization tools. These are things people should be eating up, and they're not. This is building your success muscle. Now, once you have those basic skills, or you could add those on once you get some tools, because it makes the tools work better. And what do you want? You want high-performing tools. You don't want a tool that just kind of works. You want a kick-ass tool. But that's a bio tool, so it's going to have to be, how does it integrate with your biosystem? And you have to pump the iron to pump the psychic iron. So you need those tools. You need those realities that go with it. So the whole idea is, how do you connect to uncrossing energies? Well, you don't know how to do that. And you're not going to be able to do that psychically. You can meditate 20 hours a day. It ain't going to work. And why do that? Why do that when you can get yourself an uncrossing energy cell for a couple of $100? It's kind of stupid, isn't it? So the whole idea is get the tools you need. Get the radionic machines, which are inexpensive. Ultimately, you use them for the rest of your life. I make them super easy to use. Get the rate cards you put in there for your different manifestations. You're done. Is there a complicated process? Does somebody want to tell you got to dial a bunch of dials and you got to have this super expensive machine and the more dials the better? Well, how typically stupid human. So just is incredibly ignorant to think that that's how this is. But you're not understanding the energy fields. You're not understanding this unique type of energy that runs the universe, which is not electromagnetic in nature. So you've got to understand that. And that's what subtle energy physics is all about. So everybody watch for my new course coming up very soon to explain all this. We're going to be putting this onto actual lectures. These lectures have empowerment symbols to bring it into your life. And all of this is how it works. And we've put it all together. And our tools work amazingly well. But they are not Aladdin lamp. Aladdin lamps don't work. You don't rub it and it manifests in your life. It just doesn't work that way. Just like many or all drugs don't work for everybody. As a matter of fact, if to work perfectly, they work for very few. While they may give you some benefits, classically, some people doesn't work for at all. So other ones, it can actually kill them. So you got to understand that. Of course, that's not with my technology. But the bottom line is that this technology works for everybody. And it brings you up. But your life is unique. What are your problems? What are your blockages? How quick is it going to work? To what level? But, it's like everything else in life. You don't get results in a matter of days, weeks, or even months. You got to work with these energies for years. But it doesn't mean you're working for years to have it do something. It starts changing your life instantly. But the level it changes to is very dependent upon you, the work you do, and how you end. So that's the way it is in terms of how all this works. This is a science. This is known. This is measured. This can be tested on every levels. What can't be tested is the theoretical mumbo-jumbo nonsense you get from those bogus researchers who claim to be theoretical physicists, or a lot of physicists in general. They have no idea, which means physical. Physical what? So the point is they're not been able to figure anything out. They're trying to break things down. They don't get it because they're not dealing with the energetic. So the bottom line is the energetic is where everything works. That's real science. That's how everybody in the universe really works, and you can tap into it now. You can change your life by using these tools. So educate yourself, know what's going on. There's lots of free lectures here on this particular channel. And of course, we have all sorts of tools you can obtain in there, lifetime tools. You don't use this for a year or 2 or 5 years. Anything that you purchase from Radionic Tech are tools you're going to use for your rest of your life, particularly an uncrossing energy cell. This is something you're going to have to use. You feeling sick? Well, why are you feeling sick? Well, you're feeling sick because now you have a magnetic energy field in you to draw in illness. Eliminate that, and you eliminate that problem. Same thing with not being successful or whatever else you want to create. So if you're not successful, you are having a problem. If you're making bad stock trades, it means you have negative stock trade energy. Get rid of that negative energy. Replace it with the positive. Guess what happens? So this is all that happens. And of course, there are skill levels that are required with these things as well. I mean, you got to know what you're getting into. Everybody wants that rub the lamp pop in there. I didn't train myself. I know nothing. I know. Well, I mean, this is another fallacy. But the bottom line is that there's no use getting into the minutia of everything. That's how it works. Hopefully, this is very clear. Anyone who has any questions are always welcome to contact me.